Hi there, welcome back. I wanted to move on to the point where I moved into the apartment where I lived for nearly 10 years. That was when I moved there. I was pretty deep into the project with Barb and Toshio. I was moving from another location. I'd been there for about a year, and that location flooded while I was there. There was a rainstorm, and a plastic bag trapped a drainage hole on the roof. And the landlord came and released it and flooded the apartment. Prior to him releasing that, the walls had filled with water. It was a huge mess, and it was under construction for many months while I lived there. We had to live there. I was without a bathroom for a long time. I had to use a bathroom wherever I could find it. It was a horror show. It was disgusting, and there were constantly workers in the house or in the apartment, and eventually when they got the place fixed up, they kicked us out. So I had to find a place, and while I was looking for a place, my requirements were I needed room for a workshop. I needed room for storage, and I wanted a garden. And I had split up about a cord of wood, and I wanted, though this wasn't an absolute requirement, but I wanted to have the ability to rely on wood heat, at least as a supplement to whatever else was available, either oil or natural gas. So my two major requirements, absolute necessary requirements, were a shop and storage space. That search was difficult, and I get into that to describe how difficult that process can be. It'll take too long. It is very difficult, especially when you have needs. Like if you're, a lot of people can cram whatever they own into their vehicle and move into a place, and they don't really care about, they just need a bedroom and a place to prepare food, and that's pretty much it. I was different. I was in my 30s. I had a business, and I needed a shop. I needed a place to store my things. That makes your search much more difficult. I responded to an ad on Craigslist. I met with the guy. That was Dave. He would eventually become the property manager to the building that I would live in. I met with him, and he showed. I explained my requirements. He showed me a place, and while he was showing me the place, we were in the basement. He said, "Yeah, maybe this wouldn't be a good place for a shop." And he said, "I've got another place." It was closer to town. In fact, it was right in town. And he said, "That's got exactly what you're looking for." So we went, we looked at it, and it was the basement was all flooded out. I knew I'd have to map out where the dry spots were. It wasn't going to be ideal, but I could manage to put a shop in there. It was a large lot. I would be able to have a garden, and there was storage, plenty of storage available. The basement, this was a 2-unit building, and the basement was split up exactly in half. The bottom unit, which was to be my unit, would be, I'd get one half of the basement, and the folks upstairs would get the other half. Pretty standard. Then there was a bit of storage around. There was a back room, and there was an attic. So storage was taken care of, and there was a question about being able. There was a fireplace, and there was a question about whether or not I was going to be able to use that fireplace, and I ended up calling the landlord, the woman who owned the place, to see if I could. I took that building. I needed a place. It checked the boxes, and I moved in. Within a week or two of moving in, I phoned the landlord to see if I could use the fireplace. I had taken a $300,000 insurance policy out on the building with my renter's insurance, so that she wasn't concerned about fire or anything like that. That more than covered the cost of the building. It was a very old building. It was built in 1920, I think, and I moved in around. I forget the date. I'm not around 2013 or something like that. I moved in. She wasn't receptive to using the fireplace, unfortunately. So I ended up selling my firewood. But it gave me an opportunity to speak with her, and I on that phone call, that was the first time she and I had spoken. We spoke for a little bit, maybe 20 minutes or half an hour. She asked me if I wanted to buy the building. So she was evidently, this was a building that she grew up in. She seemed to have a pretty thick New York accent. So I'm assuming that maybe her family owned. I have a feeling that she spent some time, probably a considerable amount, in New York, just based on her accent. But this was her a childhood home. And she ended up owning it. She asked me if I wanted to buy the building, and I liked the building. I thought it had a lot of potential. It needed a whole lot of work, and I at that point in time, I had explained to the property manager, Dave, that this was the last place I wanted to move in. This is the last apartment I wanted to live in. My plan was about within 3 years, perhaps 5, I'd really like to have a place of my own. I wanted to buy some land, build a home, maybe also get a rental property. So I declined her offer to buy the place because I simply wasn't able to at the time, and I explained to her that I did like the place, and perhaps in the future I'd be interested. I lived there for probably nearly 10 years. The first year I was there's overlap with my beginning living in that place and working doing work for Barb and Toshio. The neighbors were great. The upstairs neighbors, who became friends very quickly. I was very busy with work. In that spring, I moved in the wintertime. That spring, I built a garden and a plot for myself and one plot for one of the women upstairs. And it was a really nice experience. Now, I had lived there for a little while, maybe a year and a half, or it was either a year or 2 years. This happened in the dead of winter. This was the first incident that I can recall where I realized that I couldn't trust Dave, who was the property manager. We had our furnace broke catastrophically. I went to take a shower one morning, and the water was freezing cold. And that doesn't happen if if you run out of fuel, or the furnace, for some reason is no longer working. There will be a residual heat in the coil, and it won't be freezing cold water. So when I realized there was freezing cold water, I knew something had gone pretty terribly wrong. I went downstairs, and the core had cracked. It was a catastrophic malfunction in the furnace. I notified Dave. He came over, and we took the furnace out. He got a new one. However, when pretty shortly into that day, he had a service tech, a furnace technician, or it was a boiler actually. That furnace tech went down to see the furnace, and Dave began accusing me of breaking the furnace. It's been so long, but multiple times he said, "What did you do, Steve?" And I said, I didn't do anything. I just noticed that there was no hot water and came down to investigate, and this is what I found." And he continued accusing me, "You must have done something," and over again. I mean, he might have accused me 4, 5, 6, 7, many times, to the point where the boiler technician cut in, and he said he didn't have anything to do with this. That this was he wasn't responsible for this at all. And he I'm glad he was there to come to my aid, because I quickly began to realize, I don't think that this guy actually thinks I did anything to the furnace. I'm referring to Dave. I think he wants me to pay for this. And this would become a trend, a sort of behavior that was became typical with him. The boiler technician also said that this particular furnace, this particular model, has a history of catastrophically just self-destructing, the way this one did. So that quieted Dave down, and there were no more accusations at that point. He realized that there would be no hope to pin this on me. That was the first encounter with him where I realized I couldn't. After that point, I knew I could not trust him. Now, prior to this, when I had first moved in that spring, when the snow had thawed and the grass started growing, no one was coming to mow the lawn. This place was managed by a property management company, and Dave was working for that property management company. No one was coming by to mow the lawn, and I called them up to ask what was going on. They didn't have any answers for me. Dave said, I don't know who was in charge of doing that in the past, but there was no plan. And eventually the grass, it turned into like a field. It was, about 2 feet tall. It was the residents of that building, the upstairs tenants and myself included, were worried about getting ticks at this point. It was really, really overgrown. So I began to bother the property management company, saying, we've got to take care of this. I would have mowed it myself. I didn't have a lawnmower. I wanted to see what their plan was. They came over, and there was another gentleman who I'd been dealing with in addition to Dave, and he was a very nice guy. He brought his own lawnmower, and it was an old lawnmower that wasn't up to the task, and it took him many hours. I mean, maybe 5 hours or so. It was a huge problem. He was bagging it, and he wouldn't. I don't think he would be able to get one run down the lawn without having to empty the bag. It took him a very long time. And so I asked them what the plan was in the future. Did they have anyone? Had they hired someone? So this gets dealt with, because we can't. Obviously, this can't be the answer, you know. And they didn't have a. They had no plan. They hadn't hired anyone, and they appeared not to be interested in hiring anyone. But that wasn't acceptable. We couldn't just have the grass overgrown like that. So I presented them with an option. I said, if you're unsure of how to go about this, I said, we can't let the grass just keep growing without cutting it. I said, I'll propose to you an option. I will, I'll take care of all of the lawn care duties for less than a commercial outfit would. I don't know how much work that'll entail. It was a big lawn. I said, how about, if you're interested, because this does need to be dealt with, and if you're not quite sure what to do about it, I'm just presenting I'm presenting a way to solve this problem. I will do it this season and figure out how much work is involved, and then I'll give you my fee, how much I can do it for per season. And he agreed. So I began doing that. I immediately bought a lawnmower. I had no place to store a lawnmower. There was no shed. So I had been doing some research on a reel mower that I was interested in for when I got my own property. A reel mower is one of those. It has a cylindrical set of multiple blades, 4 or 5 blades, and I opted to get that. It allowed me to, it was a Fisker's reel mower. It allowed me to get the lawn mowed, but carry the lawnmower inside. It was light enough for me to carry the thing inside and store it in the back room. Purchased that and a weed whacker. Both items came to around about $450 with tax. I mowed that lawn for that year, and then I mowed it again for the following year, and that following year, at the end of that year, the end of that season, I presented Dave with my quote. And I gave the absolute lowest quote that I possibly could without costing me too much money. I did it actually did cost me money. My quote was going to be $400 per season. Now, I had already spent at least $400 on the equipment. I was mowing the lawn about twice a week for the whole season, and I was certainly making no money off of this, and I was even missing some work when I would be working in the summertime on a project. I'd have to leave and if I look at the forecast and it was going to rain the next day or something, I knew I'd have to mow the lawn today. I'd have to sort of cut things short. It was a sacrifice, but I did this because I wanted to. It was a message to the landlord and to the property manager that I was trustworthy, and I wanted to keep in good standing. I wanted them. I just wanted to build a good rapport with them. So I had been mowing this lawn for 2 years. My fee was $400. So I approached him with the fee total of $800 for 2 seasons worth, and he denied. He said, "I'm not going to pay you." He gave me one payment one time of $400 for those 2 years, and I really knew this guy was absolutely not trustworthy. I could have charged $1,200 per season and still been under what a commercial outfit would have charged for a low end. So This was two instances where I realized that he was not to be trusted. He was and he wasn't. He was not. He lacked integrity and didn't keep his word, even when presented with a fantastic deal. And I didn't present this opportunity to him because I wanted the extra responsibility. I really didn't want anything to do with this, but it was an issue, and the property management company did not appear to have any intention. They had no intention of getting someone to mow this lawn. And at this point, Dave had become the sole property manager. He had left the property management company, and I'm not quite sure how this all, what the details surrounding this were, but what I was told was that as a parting gift, that company gave Dave this property to manage on his own. That begins, that gives some insight into this man's character. And I'm going to end this video and try to make it a shortened video detailing my time there, and just collect my thoughts. Thank you.